We love them. We understand their business. We can understand how it moves and how it works. And we understand the stresses and the inconveniences that a restaurant owner goes through. They typically carry a lot of bad debt because, I mean, some of them, not all of them, but most of them aren't finance guys, and they don't keep good tracks or good records of what they're doing, and they're constantly paying vendors late. And sometimes they miss out on the coffee vendor, and all of a sudden their coffee doesn't show up one day because they're 3 weeks behind or a month behind. We would then come in and give them a quick cash injection to get them current on that. And that is something that they rely on just from a day-to-day perspective or opportunity. If you get in with a few restaurant guys and you know or they know that you're their go-to guy for money, they will pretty much keep coming back to you over and over and over and over again. We fund some restaurants up to 4 times a year, which, you know, you kind of get into that evergreen fund type of situation.
Hey, Bill, how about someone who owns multiple franchise locations? Is that
not a problem? We actually, yes, we're a Dunkin' Donuts sponsor, as well as an IHOP sponsor and a MassTac organization for liquor store sponsor. So franchise funding is not an issue whatsoever. In fact, we like them more. They're more predictable, they're more profitable, and they're typically a lot safer. So you can cross-collateralize corps. It's a much higher dollar amount, but we've done 45 IHOPs. We've done 33 Dunkin' Donuts, 27 Domino's, so we can do them all, 6 Smash Burgers. We're involved with a lot of the franchise corporations as well. We've done a few McDonald's, although they're a little tougher because the corporation gets in the way. But again, if we can work something out with the owners, we can typically get them some sort of cash.
So what's required here? High credit score not required. So what kind of a FICO score do you look for as a minimum?
At a minimum, your FICO score, I can't stress this enough, isn't going to make or break it. The lowest we've ever lent to is 430.
Okay, so it's not really an issue.
It's not really an issue. What's an issue is why is your credit score so bad? Let's take a look at it. You know, we want to actually take a very detailed evaluation of why and how and see if it's something that we can make sense. If you're blatantly going out of business, we can pretty much tell. If you're not, and there are certain things on there that make sense to us, we can then get you the money. We lent to a woman who owns a restaurant in Florida. She had 13 rental properties, and one of her properties she just let go into foreclosure. It was a strategic choice that she made, and it was the right one. But guess what? It killed her credit. She still has 12 properties, and they're all current on their mortgage, and she's owned them all for 10-plus years. But this one she just could not rent. It was an office retail property. And even I think she did the right thing with today's market and the way it's going. She let the bank foreclose on her property and wiped it free and clear from herself.
Business plan not required. No personal and business financial statements or tax returns required. Now, that's pretty extraordinary.
Correct. In some cases, we will ask for tax returns, but it has to be a high dollar amount. Typically $70,000 or more. We'll ask for the last or the previous year's tax returns. It also lets us know that they are current on their taxes if they have a return from 2010 or even 2009, because the government's a different kind of animal that you don't really want to dance with. If they do have a tax lien on there, they can, you know, if we fund them the money, they can come in and seize all of it. Even if they owe $30,000 to the government and we give them $90K, they can basically put a freeze on the account for the full $90K, and then it takes you weeks, if not months, to get that freeze released just to access those funds that aren't even theirs to begin with. So we don't want to deal with things like that. But again, if it makes sense to us and we can read between the lines, we'll get it done, not a problem.
Okay, and then you say here, guarantee against fraud or intervention only. What does that mean?
Correct. It's kind of a performance guarantee, which they're guaranteeing the personal performance of their company, which is basically that they're not going to hinder sales in any way in order to not pay back the loan in the manner that's expected. So a classic example would be somebody telling somebody that their credit card machine is broken because that's the way that we get paid back. They might say 3 days out of the week, oh, sorry, we don't accept credit cards today, our machine is down, go get cash across the street, pay us. So that's pretty much what that does. That just secures our way of payment and making sure that the merchant or the client is performing in a manner that they've always have performed and that they're not going to deviate from what they've always been doing.
Right. No application fee. That's pretty self-explanatory.
Correct.
approval within 5 to 7 business days in most cases. Now, that's pretty amazingly short.
Correct. Our approvals are actually guaranteed within 48 hours. So I know that's kind of the broad, again, marketing materials that you have in front of me, but we will put a guarantee on everything that we do that we will give you. If we receive one-page application and everything is filled out on it and signed at the bottom, their 3-month bank statements and their 6-month merchant credit card statements, you will have a yes or no with some sort of approval numbers within 48 hours. The banking products take up to about 5 to 6 business days.
And you can and you get repayment. Is it like generally like 5% of the daily sales? I'm assuming you're taking it out daily. Is that right?
The percentage comes out every single day from their Visa MasterCard sales.
And is it okay?
Yeah, that percentage is going to be different in all aspects, in all cases, because we get an idea as to what their cash flow is to their credit card volume. So what I mean by that is if somebody's doing $90,000 in cash and only $10,000 in credit card sales, and they want $20,000 or $25,000 or even $30,000, we're going to tell them that, well, based off your credit card volume, that doesn't make sense for us because you only do $10,000. However, you're doing on average $100,000 every month. What we'll do is we'll give you $20,000, but we might take 65% of your credit card sales in order to pay us back. Some people might gasp at that, but you have to consider that they're doing $90,000 in cash and they're showing it. That's only 6.5% of their total gross volume. Can they afford 6.5% of their total gross volume in their bottom line? Well, that's for underwriters to determine and what their profit margins are and what their industry is and so on and so forth. So that number is going to be different. It could be 5% if it was the other way around.
Okay.
Or it could be 20%. Typically, we see anywhere from 8 to 20% of their sales is what we typically take out because our average merchant is, again, a restaurant or a retail store of some sort, so we know what the profit margins are. So from a broad spectrum, it's anywhere from 8 to 20% would be coming out of just their Visa MasterCard sales only. Not American Express, not Discover.
Okay. And then I have underwriting process, average at least $5,000 in monthly Visa or MasterCard volume. So that's your minimum floor.
Correct.
And you want 1 year remaining on their lease. They have to have at least a year on their lease?
Yes, they have to have at least 1 year left on their lease, and that is because, obviously, we want to make sure that you're not going out after a year because, these loans, even if they're average from 6 to 8 months, we want to make sure that if there is a problem, maybe a pipe bursts or there's a fire, that, you have a couple of years left ongoing at that location so that, it's just a security thing. If we give you money and your lease is up in 4 months, well, sorry, that's not going to happen. We usually make them renegotiate their lease and have a landlord verification of it.
Okay. So if someone's like, again, going back to the 5% as an example, let's say it's $20,000 a month, 5% of $20,000 is $1,000. So let's make it easy. Let's say that a company is doing $30,000 a month in credit cards sales. So it's $1,000 a day, just to say it's even. You're going to take out to repay, they could borrow potentially $45,000, or potentially 1.5 times their monthly credit card receipts, which would be 1.5 times $30,000, which is $45,000. And then they're getting $1,000 a day in through their credit card system. So you're going to be having them pay back $50 a day?
That is correct.
More or less. These are just sort of example numbers. Okay.
That's correct. It's all going to be based off, and also what are they using the money for, and how much is their profit margin. That percentage is tough to put a finger on right now because what's their credit, what's their industry? Is this going to be a 4-month deal because they chose a 4-month deal, or is this going to be a 9-month deal because they chose a 9-month deal? Now, the difference between the two would be if they choose a 4-month deal, that percentage coming out of their credit card volume is going to be extremely high.
Right.
But the cost of the money is going to be very, very cheap. They could be at a 1-1-2 factor, which really isn't that bad. If they go up to a longer extended deal, the percentage coming out of their credit card sales is going to go very low, but the cost of the money might be upwards of a 1.30 or a 1.38. So the cost of the money goes up, but the payback comes down. There are all sorts of different variations of exactly how we do it, and we give them these options, and we go through it with them. So we give them 4, 6, 8, 9, 10-month terms options so they can see them all. And then we get on the phone with them, with usually the sales agent, and go over everything that basically we're doing, what's more important to you. But on average, we never, ever want to exceed more than 12% of their total gross volume, no matter what the situation is. And in some cases, depending on the industry, like a liquor store has very low profit margin. We won't go really above 8. So all these things have to be taken into consideration when we're underwriting the deal.
Okay. Is there ever a balloon payment, or is it always amortized, over?
There is never a balloon payment. It is always, it's a purchase. So think of it not as a loan at all. I'm buying a portion of your future sales at this price and giving them to you at this price. So the payback is there. If I give you $10,000, you are paying me back $13,800, and no matter how long it takes you, based off that percentage, because this is not a banking loan. This is a receivable factor. So legally, you can't call it a loan. It's an advance of their future sales.
Mm-hmm.
If I put a set 6 monthly payment on it, it would be a banking product.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. Okay. Now, this slide mentions principal's credit score and so forth, but you've told me verbally it's not really that very important at all.
Correct. Their credit score is just kind of a guidance piece for us to determine what kind of money they're going to get, at what cost, and at what term. If a guy has really poor credit, don't get me wrong, we're going to give him a shorter-term loan, and the money's going to be a little bit more expensive. We're not here to do anybody, extreme favors. We're here to make money in the safest way we possibly